What is up, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you guys is a discussion. Now, this is going to be a lot of things that I've noticed playing the game that I think either need tweaked or changed, stuff like that. I'm going to have a lot of ideas at the end. Of course, I want to hear your guys' opinions on everything that I go over in this video. If you disagree with anything, agree with anything, just let me know in the comments. I'm really curious what the community thinks of the things that I'm going to bring up. But with that, guys, I'm not going to waste time on the intro too much. We're just going to get right into this fault discussion. Alright, guys, so the first thing that I'm going to hit on in this video is going to be the only thing that I actually kind of have an issue with, and that's going to be stacking. You can 5-stack right now, and I don't think you should be able to. Currently, I think you should be able to stack with one friend. You should be able to play with one friend in a duo queue, and that would increase the competitive integrity of the game. I say competitive integrity, but really it's just the state of the game right now. If you load into a game and you're, a gold player and you get matched against 5 plat players, you just lost the game. It doesn't matter. You're just going to lose. This really hurts because if you're a brand new player and you play against a stack of players in like your first or second game, it's just not a very good introduction. When there's only, 3,000 people playing a day, then you'd need to limit how those people can play. If I were to get 4 people who were okay at the game and we 5-stacked, I probably wouldn't lose a game for the next 10 matches just because of the way that the game works. To fix this problem, I think that the obvious answer is to have a separate queue. I think you need to have a casual queue, and then you can call it a ranked queue if you want, or like a pre-made queue, or just force 5-stacks to play in pre-mades. You can 5-stack in pre-mades. Currently, you can already do custom games, and I think that's kind of where you need to push 5-stacks towards. I don't think you should let 5-stacks go into the casual queue right now. I think it's just kind of making a lot of people either mad at the game or not want to play the game, that kind of thing, when you load into a match and get wrecked by a bunch of 5-stacking beta testers. But that's really my only gripe. The rest of these are going to be observations and ideas that I've got. So with that, we'll get right into the next little section here. Alright, guys, the next section that we are going to get into is going to be about the heroes and just kind of my thoughts on some of the stronger ones, the weaker ones, ideas, stuff like that. Before we get into this, Strange Matter Studios is constantly looking at these heroes deeper than I am. They have more stats, stuff like that. And with that said, they're going to be releasing lots of patches in the next few weeks. I would expect a patch every 5-6 days from now on. They said they'd be rapid firing them after 0.3.0. With that said, there are some heroes that I think need to get hit. First, looking at win rates and pick rates, you're going to see Boris as an outlier. As far as pick rate goes, he's at 33%, which is stupid. He's getting picked really not at all in a game with 13 heroes. It's really bad. I'm pretty sure it's going down even as we speak. And with that said, it's because he's just bad. He's really unrewarding to play. His only play style is kind of hit W and get big. But right now, the jungle doesn't give very much farm or gold, and we'll get into that a little later. But that causes him to get behind. Ganks are weaker. Character got hit by a huge nerf. He's just not getting played because he doesn't do anything the other junglers do. Right now, junglers, you kind of need to be a tanky / have crowd control out of the jungle. And you can see that with Sevarog. Sevarog also just got a huge nerf to his kit, specifically his early game. But with that said, he still is boasting a 75% pick rate, and he is still very solid, even though he got hit with arguably bigger nerfs than Boris did. Next, you're going to see Sparrow down there at like 43% pick rate, and it's just because she's the worst carry. I don't necessarily think the character is horrible, but as far as you're looking at Murdoch and Twin Blast, she's not as good as those two. I think she's better in mid lane than she is in carry, just because her clear's okay, her poke's okay, and in mid lane, you can just kind of play a little safer. I think the character might need a couple buffs, but we'll get into that a little later. Next, you're going to see Belica, 94.5%. Pick rate is stupid, and the reason is because she can be played in any of the lanes. Probably wouldn't play her in the jungle. You could probably try. Character is very strong, might work, but you can play her off lane, mid lane, carry, support. She's playable all of those 4 roles. And it's because she's very strong. She has a kit that kind of does everything, and it kind of has no downsides to doing everything. Generally, Jack of all trades characters have a downside where they're not very good at everything, but they can do it all. Belica kind of does it all, and she does it very well. I think she needs to be looked at, but we'll get into a couple ideas I've got for her at the end of the video. Next, people that stand out to me are going to be Gideon and Twin Blast because they both have high pick rates, but I don't think that's because the characters are OP. I think it's because they were favorite characters from Paragon, and anyone new showing up is going to be like, oh, yo, I played Gideon in Paragon, let's try him now. Or I played Twin Blast in Paragon, let's try him now. And I think that's why you'll see these characters actually with slightly less win rates compared to their overly high pick rates. I don't think either of these characters necessarily need nerfs, but they're just going to be picked a lot because they were favorite characters from Paragon. With that, guys, that's it for the heroes. We're going to get into some general sort of game balance sort of stuff. Alright, guys, the next place we are going to look at is going to be the game itself, specifically looking into some of the roles. First, the jungle is just not fun. They just tweaked the jungle so that it's no longer the camps that tick up. It's spawn 3 at 2 minutes after it's killed, spawn 3 more. And I think that change is good, but they need to tweak the values. They need to give more gold and more XP, but scaling with the game. So the later the game goes, the more XP and gold they give. This would help it so that it's not overpowering early game, but that they still do something into the mid game. Right now, your jungler is basically another support. You just have to play someone tanky with crowd control. If you're playing Chimera, Boris, you're just going to lose the game. I think that what they need to do in the jungle is give junglers something to do early. Right now, junglers don't do anything till 8 minutes when raptors spawn, and I think that's a problem. Junglers just clear camps for the first 8 minutes of the game, and it's incredibly boring. My idea is that you put a camp on in the middle lane. Basically, either on the river, like next to OP, or even next to raptors, one on each side, to give junglers something to fight over. I picture this as like spawning 4 minutes, and then every 3 minutes after it's killed, spawn again, that kind of thing. But it gives, maybe it's only 2 creeps, but it gives a decent amount of golden XP so that it's something that you can fight over and get a lead early, whereas right now junglers are useless until the 8-minute mark when you have to fight for raptors. Second, mid lane is struggling to kill tanks too much, in my opinion. Templar is very strong, giving protections to those around you, and mid lane has a max penetration that they can get of 30% plus 25 flat pen, plus a little more based on how many favor you have in blue. With that said, it's just not enough. I think you need the option to either get more percent pen or more flat pen, and right now you're just not doing any damage to tanks. You hardly do any damage to squishies even, and I think that that's a little problem that they just need to look at a little bit, tweak some items, stuff like that. Next is carry. Carry is really strong, and I think carry is strong for the same reason that mid lane is weak, and that's the items. I think carry items are all very, very impactful. They all do something when you buy them. They either give you attack speed, power, crit, and those are stats that actually really matter to a carry, whereas a mid laner getting 500 mana from an item really doesn't matter quite as much as a carry getting 25% attack speed. With that said, I have a couple ideas for item nerfs that we'll get into a little later. I think that carry is a easily balanced position where they can tweak it, not a lot, but make it more in tune with the rest of the game. With that said, I think that the composition right now is kind of whack. Right now, the strongest compositions I've seen are where you play, a carry in the duo lane. You can even play a carry in the middle lane, but then you basically have 3 tanks around them. You have your support, you have a jungler that's tanky with crowd control, and you have a solo laner that's tanky with crowd control. This just sets up your carries. Your carries are really the only people that matter. It's just kind of like GOATS comp if you guys are Overwatch players. It's just not very fun to watch or to play. I think those are the main things they need to look at, are tweaking the jungle to make that better and tweaking the mid lane items, and I think those 2 things will fix that sort of weird tanky carry heavy meta. With that, guys, we are going to get into a sort of brainstorming session that I had with a couple friends of mine, and these are the ideas we came up with. Alright, guys, the last section is going to be just some ideas that a few Fault friends and I came up with. If you have any ideas of your own, tweaks to these, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm curious what you guys have to say. With that, we're going to get to the first character, and that's Belica. I think her passive needs to tie into her E cooldown. As long as her E is on active or on cooldown, she shouldn't have her passive. This would reduce her ranged poke a little bit, make you have to actually manage a cooldown to play her. Right now, you can kind of just auto people without any consequences. Next, Chimera. I think his jump needs to be a ground targeter. Right now, it's a lock-on to a person, and this causes you to be really, really all in. If this was a ground targeter, you could use it to escape. You could still use it to go in, but also use it to escape. I think it would enhance the character. If they don't do this, I think he needs his old passive back, where it's tied to an ability. You can max it first, get that sustain early. It would give the character more to work with. His passive right now is just useless. Next, Boris. This is a personal one, favorite change of idea of mine. Boris, right click is called Maul. What it does is it's a short dash that delivers 2 auto attacks. It applies on hit effects such as red buff. However, this dash cannot crit. I think they should let it crit. This would allow you to build like a Beast Hunter Ace on Boris, and with that you could build AI ammo, and then if your dash is critting for 500 per crit and you happen to crit it twice, you're like one-shotting people, but you're still all in with this character without an escape. And I think it would be a really cool way to play Boris, just to allow him to kind of get in and have this all-in playstyle that he sort of had before, but to make him more glass cannony, and he'd be playable after the nerfs that he saw last patch. Next, I think the carry items need to be nerfed basically all around. Specifically, they put move speed onto A boost, and they need to take it off. It's stupid. Ace, the enhanced attack range on Ace is stupid because it makes characters have to pick Ace. If you're fighting a carry who has Ace and you don't have Ace, you're going to lose. Just how it works, I think that's just a weird card that they have in the game. Next, K Castle needs a revert. The dash range is too far, the heal is too much, they need to choose one. Next, jungle changes. I went over one of these briefly, where if you put a mid camp towards the river buff sort of thing, then this would give junglers something to fight over before Raptors. I think it would give them sort of a purpose early game, give them something where, hey, if I just poked you out early game, now we get an advantage and a little bit of a lead. I think this would help jungle out immensely and allow it to be a little more fun to play, give early game characters a little more of a boost. With that said, I think Beast Hunter needs a change. Beast Hunter's second passive right now gives you health and damage. I don't think that's useful. If it were to give you a health and mana restore when clearing camps, then I think that would help junglers be able to stay out a little longer. You don't have to back to base every 5 minutes. It's just something that I think would help enhance the jungle. Next, I think the jungle needs to give golden XP scaling with the game. Right now, it just doesn't give very much golden XP into the mid game. I think it needs to give more into the mid game, and this would allow junglers to keep up in golden XP without having to have a bunch of kills or leeching off of their lanes. And final change that I have for today is I would put Raptors back to 10 minutes. Raptors at 8 minutes means you're fighting without ultimates, and it just kind of invalidates a couple characters in that first fight. Characters like Gideon, who has a very strong early game teamfight ultimate, doesn't get to utilize that part of his kit, whereas characters like Belica, who has a very strong kit outside of her ultimate, still gets to use the strongest parts of her kit in that first fight. Just something that I think would be nice. Back to 10 minutes makes a lot of sense to me. But that is the last change I have. Of course, if you guys have ideas, let me know in the comment section below. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to subscribe, all that jazz. But with that said, I have been Pinzo. This video is Dunzo. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.